This guy is going to be ridiculous. No one is going to top this man. He's 100% natural throughout this prep, and so on show day, he's only going to get better. He's going to look leaner. He's going to be absolutely incredible. But something happens. Coach Greg in today's video, is Max Taylor natural or is he not? Max Taylor recently did a competition, and prior to this, he dieted for 20 weeks. He contacted me, was considering getting me as his coach as he wanted to get absolutely shredded. I want to do a show. I'm not going to beat around the bush though. I'm willing to diet for 20 plus weeks if that means first. I'm competing, but I want to stick out as a natural bodybuilder and be on stage with glutes peeled. And so remember, Max Taylor has always stated he's 100% natural, and I did in fact believe it to be the case. But he wanted to compete on stage with glutes peeled. To have your glutes peeled to be shredded, you got to approach 5% body fat, sometimes even lower. And so to compete on stage with conditioning like that, if you're natural, you're almost certainly going to crush your natural production of testosterone. And in the process, you'll end up looking skinny, flat, and stringy on stage. Your muscles won't pop, but you will in fact be shredded. But how much muscle will you really have? And so throughout his diet, I examined his photos as I was very excited to see what will Max Taylor look like as a natural competitor on stage. We saw Jesse James compete natural and did exceptionally well. And as I examined his photos at 4 weeks out, I was so impressed with Max Taylor that I literally wrote him this. I'm going to read it now. You look leaner than Jesse this far out, natural. Can be tough to not lose muscle the last 4 weeks. It's especially impressive natural. Even not natty, it'd be impressive. But at this point, I'm being very suspicious. I'm thinking, how does he look this incredible? After all, Jesse James has absolutely amazing genetics, and he's leaner than Jesse 4 weeks out. If you're that lean 4 weeks out, you're inevitably going to lose a lot of muscle, even if you're enhanced. If you overdiet, you're not going to have the protein, the energy to build that muscle, and you're going to be in a catabolic state and lose muscle. Have you got any videos, or have you got your blood work checked? His response, I need to get my blood work done. I don't know who to go through. I would love to though. I want to spread the natty message. And so I literally reached out and explained exactly what to do in order to get his blood work done. I wanted to see his blood work because I wanted to do a natty or not and say, I've examined his blood work and Max Taylor is 100% natural. Or was he not natural? I wanted to have the proof. But to date, he still hasn't posted his blood work, and that led to me being little suspicious. If he wanted to prove that he was natural, he should be taking his blood work as he diets down to get ready for the competition. After all, the most likely time somebody is going to be a fake natty is while dieting for competition, as that is going to make the biggest difference. And so June 26, almost 7 weeks out, at this point, he already looks incredible. I would not expect the guy who's natural to look this amazing. But remember, he wants to have shredded glutes, to be absolutely peeled, to look inside out. To do that, he's in a calorie deficit, which would crush his natural testosterone, and you would expect him to now lose muscle heading into the show. And so front to bottom, head to toe, back, Christmas tree, biceps, everything looking absolutely shredded, and this is over 6 weeks out from competition. Fast forward 2 weeks, about 4 weeks out. Look at the size of his arms, the vascularity. In the last 2 weeks, look at the progress he's made. And so when you're dieting for a competition, would you expect to build more muscle or to lose some? And so in this case, he looks to be more shredded and bigger than last time. If you're natural and you're dieting, you can expect to get leaner, absolutely, but your muscles should look smaller. And so as he does a side chest, a bandana on, a backpack on, look at the crazy detail and size of the bicep. Makes no sense to me. This does not look like a natural athlete. And as he flexes to the side, look at the tricep. It's not just the bicep, it's the tricep as well. Delt, strided, this, to me, it makes no sense. This is a month out. This is not show day, but a month before the competition. The guy's even got jaw striations. What is he doing? Jaws are size? How is he this shredded? It's a month out. And so imagine this is 4 weeks before the competition. He's 100% natural. And so by the competition day, he is going to look inside out peeled. He's going to be mind blowing. He's literally going to dominate the entire competition. I don't care what category he's competing in. Novice, open, advanced, enhanced, whatever. The guy's winning. Look at his physique. And so week after week, he poses photos and looks absolutely incredible. I'm thinking this guy is going to be ridiculous. No one is going to top this man. He's 100% natural throughout this prep, and so on show day, he's only going to get better. He's going to look leaner. He's going to be absolutely incredible. But something happens. He gets on stage and he places second in novice and does not place in the top 5 in the open category. And so what happened? How is it that a guy with this much muscle, with this kind of conditioning, doing that side chest with crazy vascularity, crazy size, how could it not translate to the stage? What did he do? And so I thought, is it in fact possible that he was taking something, don't know what it could be, something that would get in and out of his system quickly, and that while dieting for the show, and he had those androgens, the anabolic effect, perhaps it was test suspension, something that was in and out of the system quickly, and that before the competition, he decided to stop. While on steroids and or SARMs, your physique is obviously going to look much more impressive than when you're off. And did you know that this competition was actually not tested? It was a regular anything goes competition. But he stated he wanted to compete natural. And so why would a competitor compete natural in a non-tested competition when he could choose to compete natural? And so his decision, he's competing natural in the show next week and decided to do this show first to prepare for that competition. And so is it in fact possible that he was taking performance-enhancing drugs, decided to stop them perhaps 1 or 2 weeks before the competition, and this led to him being soft, aka smooth on stage, did not have the same pop to the muscle, the vascularity, the sheer shreds? And that he did this because he knew he could in fact be drug tested when he competes the following week in a drug tested competition. And so let's comment on his physique on stage and let's compare him to Shizzy. As he was preparing for the competition, although smaller than Shizzy, I do feel that he was better conditioned. I felt that Max Taylor was more shredded, that he could likely beat Shizzy in a competition. Shizzy won 3 categories. Max Taylor placed second in novice. He never even made the top 5. And so in doing the side tricep pose, you can clearly see the quads are conditioned. When you're on performance-enhancing drugs, at least for me, what I noticed the most was the change in size of my quads. The quads would absolutely get much leaner than last time. Quads, calves, and so on. He had ridiculous-looking cross striations before the competition, but on stage, they lacked the fullness, the pop. They did not have the same level of striations that I would have expected. Remember, during peak week, you're going to, in fact, dehydrate the body, and you should look significantly leaner than a week or 2 prior. And if you examine the side tricep, although he does have conditioning, I don't see the same size. And his abdominals, obliques, and so on, although I can see them, they don't appear to be shredded. Remember, 4 weeks prior to this guy was mind-blowing shredded. He wanted to have peeled glutes on stage. And to get that, you need close to 5% body fat, maybe even a little lower. But if you examine his abdominals, you can see them, but they don't look shredded. And so why is that? Is it possible that he came off the supplements and perhaps he was now retaining water? Perhaps he wasn't able to take, for example, halotestin or other hardeners or estrogen blockers, diuretics, and so on, and he didn't get the conditioning he wanted because he decided to go natural at this point. And so let's examine his side chest on stage versus the side chest that he demonstrated a month prior. Raise your hand if you think he looked better on stage doing that side chest than he did an entire month before the show. Let's examine the arms. Does he possess the same amount of size and vascularity, or does it appear a bit smaller? If he were taking performance-enhancing drugs for that photo 4 weeks prior, and he stopped after that point, his arms would continue to digress in size right up to the show. And let's examine his legs. Look at the glutes in particular. Do they look striated? Remember, this guy was shredded 4 weeks prior. How is it possible that he did not continue to get leaner? Well, if he was relying on steroids, SARMs, or any performance-enhancing drug to get the physique that he possessed 4 weeks out and went off of that, it would be much more difficult to diet and get the conditioning that he sought after. And so this side chest pose looks very good for somebody who is in fact natural. And I do believe he's natural in this photo on stage, but was he natural a month prior? I don't see lines or cross striations in the side of his leg in a side chest pose. A guy that's very lean, I would expect to see so much more definition. He appears to be smooth. Perhaps he just overcarb, drank too much water, had an improperly done peak week, and this led to it. And so I don't personally know if for sure he's natural or if he was enhanced or if he simply screwed up his contest prep in the final peak week for the competition. And so doing the archer pose, examining that, let's examine his abdominals. Do you see what you would expect of a guy that would be approaching 5% body fat? Something is clearly off. He does appear to have very lean legs, but he's holding a significant amount of water in his midsection. Remember, he only placed second in novice and not in the top 5, and I do believe it's because of his conditioning. He does not have the rock-hard abdominals that you're looking for in men's classic physique. But why is that? The guy was leaner than Jesse James 4 weeks prior than Jesse was on stage. I was so impressed that I found it hard to believe that Max Taylor was in fact natural. I was so suspicious. I want him to show his blood work. I reached out to him. Hey, are you going to get your blood work done? I'd love to look at it because I want to make a video on it. The pictures were so impressive to me that I doubted his natural status back then. And seeing him in his condition now, I'm thinking, is it possible that he went off of the performance-enhancing drugs and that he simply lost some of the pop, lost some of the condition he had 4 weeks prior? And because he's competing in a natural show in a week, it would in fact make a lot of sense. If he was in fact going to get tested, he would have to cycle off what he was taking, and that would cause him to lose size, strength, muscle definition, and so on. And so is he in fact natural? Well, he states he's going to get his blood work done. And so perhaps he was hoping that by the time he gets his blood work done, after stopping for 2, 3, 4 weeks, I don't know, that by that time his blood work would return to normal. But for the most part, it's going to take significantly longer than that for his natural testosterone levels and so on to go to normal levels if he in fact was not natural 4 weeks prior. And so please, anyone out there that's competing in drug-tested sporting competitions, ensure that you're actually natural, because you don't want to go and take a test and fail without even your knowledge. Not a single ingredient in any of the supplements that I have contain banned ingredients. And so whether you take G-Test, 3-Test, ActiBuilder, GO2 Max, none of these will allow you to fail a drug test on any competition. And so, for example, the 18-year-old that ran a 9.89 second world record for anyone under the age of 20, he failed for GW cardioring when he could have been taking GO2 Max, wouldn't have failed. Improves cardio recovery and so on, but yet he took GW. He ran a sub 9.9 second at the age of 18. And so yeah, GW works, but so does GO2 Max, and this you can take it without failing a drug test. And so if you don't want to fail a drug test, consider using GO2 Max. Click the link in the description, code Greg, 10% off, and thank me later when you pass your freaking drug test. Filters, lighting, and good camera equipment mixed with being very lean looks way good. And so what he means is that some people can make their physiques look better than they actually are. And so Max Taylor, when he posts these physique updates, he's taking the best photo out of perhaps 100. And with the special lighting, the camera equipment, and editing, he can make himself look leaner than he actually is. And so at first glance, I'm thinking, there's no way this guy's physique is natural. How could it be possible? Well, it's possible because his photos are in fact enhanced. He's not enhanced, but rather his photos. I asked him, did you in fact get your blood work? Because that will tell it all. Regardless of whether I think he's natural or enhanced, or if you do, once he shows his actual blood work, we will actually be able to tell. And so he wrote, I'm going to look into that now, actually for the bloods. Thank you for that. And so if Max Taylor is in fact natural, he will have no fear of showing his blood work. And not just a portion of his blood work, the way Alex Eubank and Shizzy, aka Shawn Michael, did, but the entirety of it, including AST, ASL, the cholesterol, his testosterone levels, free testosterone, bioavailable, you name it, he will show it. But if he doesn't show his blood work, if he fails to show it, if he shows part of his blood work, You can bet your bottom dollar that he is not natural. If Max Taylor is in fact natural and wants the world to believe this, he has no choice but to show his blood work. And so to explain why he did not look as good on stage as you would expect it, it's not just the camera angles, the filters, and so on. It's also the fact that it was just a warm-up show. This was a warm-up show. My actual show is in a week. The tested one. I did this show to get my feet in the water and get comfortable to test my boundaries. Also to see how I stack up against enhanced athletes. I did test a peak, and by that he means his peak week. He tried something out and it didn't go as planned. And so he's admitting his peak week was not in order. Remember, he had previously asked for me to coach him, but we did not work it out. We did not hash out the details. And so his peak week was perhaps slightly subpar. He did not peak effectively. It didn't go as planned because external stuff, but that's the thing. It was a test, so it's all good. Plus, a ton of good talent showed up, far more seasoned than myself, so I expected the outcome to not go my way fully. Gave it my all against them, though, and held my own pretty well. Just cleaning up my posing and know what I have to do for protocol other than that. In this check-in, he's only 173 pounds. Certainly looks possible for a guy to be 173 pounds while being natural. He says, flat AF. Well, of course you're flat. When you are in peak week, you cut out your carbs and you deplete your body of glycogen. And like a dried out sponge in the sun, once you add back in the carbs, it can suck in more carbs than last time. The result being a much fuller and more vascular appearance with your muscles seeming to burst through the skin. The judges and people said I brought some of the better conditioning to the show. I simply didn't have enough size to compete with enhanced athletes. And so essentially he was out-muscled because Max Taylor is perhaps 100% natural. At first glance, I thought, I don't think so. Why is it that his body looks so incredible a month out, but yet on stage, he doesn't have that same conditioning? But Max Taylor explained it. To me, I do in fact believe him. After hearing his explanation, after watching his check-in, I do believe he's 100% natural. But just because I believe he's natural doesn't mean he actually is. It is in fact possible that he was taking low doses of SARMs or steroids, cut them out, and that was the result. We simply will not know until he shows his blood work. And so stay tuned. Once Max Taylor enters the drug-tested bodybuilding competition, gets his blood work done and posts it, I most certainly will do a follow-up video to determine once and for all, is Max Taylor 100% natural? Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algo. Did you like the video? If you did, please give it a like. Don't forget to watch one of the bloops, and of course, cookbooks, training books, coaching plans by me and my team, the Harder Than Last Time clothing line. And if you want any of the supplements, don't forget code Greg, 10% off. Just got done finishing a bike race, was talking to Max Taylor, and so I felt I had to add this to the video, as he certainly did an excellent job in explaining why he did not look as impressive on stage as I personally expected him to look. And until next time, I am out.